Hello and welcome to my year recap of Nitrotype. I came back out of retirement from Nitrotype on May 11th, 2025, and I finished all the stuff I wanted to do uh, all the way up until May 11th, 2026, so I'll be covering over the past year. So I guess we'll just start here on May 11th. You can see here I do my first race back, and I also start doing a new typing style which involves like one finger on the right and three on the left. And you can see here I get a new PB average of 131. You'll see I get a lot of new average PBs, but 131 was my best, and I just tied it here. You can see, and then I got up to 134 later that day. You can also see here on May 11th I did a tier test, and I got high tier 3. I got 127. 130 is low tier 2, so I got pretty close to that, but I had to wait till the next time to tier test to get that. So I failed that one, but yeah. Now moving on to May 12th, you can see here I get 136, which is another average PB, and these are all no quit, obviously. And you can see here I get a 147, which is only 4 under my top, actually. Moving on to May 13th, you can see here I show what my average speed is for the month of May. Obviously it's inflated, so it says 133. So it's actually 130, because Nitrotype does that. It increases it by 3 in the daily stats for some reason. May 15th, I get 5 words per minute below my top speed of 151. May 16th, I tied my average PB 136, and then I also do a duel with another high tier 3 named Sam, and I'm able to promote to low tier 2 as I get a 134 average throughout the competitive races. I then tied my top speed, or no, I got a new average. I got a new average PB as well on May 16th, 137, and then I also tied my top speed of 151 on May 16th as well. May 17th, I get a new top speed of 152. It was a long time. It was only after 6 days of coming back. I already got a new top speed. It's kind of crazy because I'm no longer a 2-finger typist. And then once again I tied my average PB 137, and then I get a 139 average, so you can see here. And then I get another top speed 159 the same day. 152 to 159, what a crazy jump. This one will actually stick for a while though, you'll see. May 18th I get a new high average PB 141. I also believe this is no quit. May 27th, at this time, I Like Cheeseburger was becoming friends with someone named Faye in the community. You'll see why this is relevant here in a bit. You can see here also, this is May 28th, botters start joining Talk, and it becomes a point of contention. And then you can see here June 1st, this is Supreme. They were a botting team that won season 56, and they're led by Faye. And Faye is not a very good individual. He's not a good person, pretty much. But yeah, you'll see later why. Now moving on to June 2nd, you can see there's more botters on Talk, which is a little unfortunate. At this time, I start complaining to Cheeseburger about it, and we slowly become distant. And then at this time, I also talked to someone named Stephen P. At this point, he had over 300k races. He was a top 10 racer in the whole world. But you'll see why it becomes relevant later. But he's also very close friends with Faye, Supreme, you know. You could see here, also on June 2nd, I noticed Ikosi got the 250k. He also complained about it on the wiki on May 27th. He got 250k and he didn't get the wildflower. You'll see why this becomes relevant later. May 3rd, I get a new high average PB of 142, a new best. And then I also show my collection of 150s as well that I had amassed at this point. Also on June 3rd, I also see that the Nitromath API is still active. So all the stats for Nitromath are still saved if you're on a team. So hopefully they'll use that when they bring back Nitromath. June 6th, I advanced to semifinals, which I've done many times, but this time is different. You'll see why. You can see here, I'm in the league here with Wildflower and Dylan. You can see here June 8th, I get to 130,000 races and then go to bed. You can see there also in that race is Mateo, who is named 10K League soon. You'll see what that's all about. Also, June 8th, I get Starlight to add me and Team Talk to this new leaderboard called Star Trek, which originally was made to fill in the void that NT Comps left for team comps, but slowly became a leaderboard of its own with a bunch of statistics and stuff. And I wanted to, I wanted to grind, I wanted to make sure I was tracked, so I did that. You can see here, also June 8th, out of nowhere, like at 12 o'clock, I just decided I want to do a 12-hour blitz. So I just decided to do a 12-hour blitz, and you can see here I get to 1,000 races in 10 hours and 48 minutes. So pretty good stuff. You can see here, 12-hour blitz, I got 1,111 races in. June 9th, my 1,500 race session PB was broken here. As you can see here, I decided to keep on going. You can see there's more talk botters. While I'm doing my session, there's a lot of botting happening on talk, which I couldn't, I kept arguing with Cheeseburger over and over. He eventually did not appreciate that. We slowly didn't become friends anymore, which was a little unfortunate. You can see here later on into June 9th, I got to 2,000 race session for the first time ever. 24 hours into my session now, I'm at 2,113, so 24-hour blitz, you could say. NT daily stats, I get to 1996. Unfortunately, I was not able to get to 2,000, which is very unfortunate, but you'll see where that's important later. At this point, I get to 2,500. I'm slowing down quite a bit, but luckily for me, Dylan J actually tells me about micro-sleeping, which is basically like resting your eyes for 15 minutes and then going back to typing, and single-handedly saved my session as I passed his session PB at the time, which was 24:48. That really saved me and let me keep going. Later on in that day, there was an error that occurred. This was also during a massive band wave spearheaded by Mercy, who also just got record keeper. And in order to do this band wave, they had Nitrotype went down for 20 whole minutes, which almost ended my session. They also cleared out race logs, temporarily deleting them, but they did bring them back 2 hours later, I believe. So that was an awkward gap in my my stats page, because there was 180 races that just weren't there. I really thought they just deleted it, everything, like everybody's race logs, but it was to rat out XYZ. XYZ got collapsed pretty much from there, because thousands of accounts were banned by Adrian and Mercy. So that was pretty cool, but it was in the middle of my 4K. I didn't get false ban or anything, luckily, even though it was almost 3,000 races into the session. Now moving on to June 10th, I get to 3,000 races. At this point, Mizu wanted to make sure I beat Mateo's session record, which was like 3,000 something. So I decided to just keep on going. At this point, I'd already made up my mind. I wanted to get to 4K, which would take another 12 hours or so. I wanted to also beat Onion's session record, which was 4,070, or 4,005, my bad, which was the best among our whole friend group, pretty much. You can see here I passed Wildflower's session record of 3,501. 48 hours into my session, I'm at 3,932 races. And then on hour 49, I get to 4,000 race session. Absolutely crazy. Here I get to 4,070, which is where I proceed to end the session there and go to bed after being awake for over 52 hours. June 13th, NCAA leaderboards finally updates, and they removed a bunch of season 56 leaderboards, as well as some Nitromath leaderboards. So you can see my final ranking here is 7th when it comes to the most leaderboards placed on here. You can also see the 4K session gave me a new league record of 5,072. You can see here that I got in the same league I did with Dylan and Wildflower, as I promote to the finals, I believe, for the very first time in my career on Nitrotype. June 14th, I get to number 1 weekly, 4,697 races at the top. I think that was the first time I was able to do that in Nitrotype. June 15th, I get as close to 5K as possible in a week. Although I technically did already do that in my league, but just wanted to show this. June 16th, this is what my 150 collection looks like at this point. June 17th, Billy 33, someone that no one was sure if they were botting or not, had been doing 10K races a month for the last 8 or 9 months or so, was keeping pace with Dylan, finally got to 400K races. He was the number 3 player at the time, and he was a complete ghost in the community, so like nobody knew anything about him. June 20th, I get to, this is the final screenshot I have of, this one I got to finals, I believe. Or, is that how it worked? No, this is the first time I got beaten the tournament, a Nitrotype tournament, which means if I didn't get that glitch from last year, this would have been the first time I would have gotten the course Ultima. But obviously I got that glitch with Nitromath a whole year before this, so I was able to get it that way. So it didn't really do anything for me. I didn't get any achievements for doing this, but it technically was my first time beating the whole league system, as you could say. June 22nd, I meet up with Dylan J and VL in real life, as we all live around the same city. You can see here we had this alt that we did a bunch of races on. You can see VL did some 180s, and then me and Dylan did some like 130s and some 40s. We tried out each other's keyboards, so these stats look very wonky. June 24th, VL had logged in on his account on my laptop, and his password was saved on here. Obviously, I didn't have access to VL's account, but because he had 2FA, but it still was funny that I had his password. He didn't change it for months on end, just so I could troll people. June 29th, I'm able to get a new average PB of 143, so you can see here. You can see here as well. And then I start race selecting a bit, and I get a 145, which is my best average ever. But it was race selected, obviously. You can see this, where the 145 came from. You can see here, June 29th. Also, I'm in a league with Mateo, Dylan J, Stephen P, and Jane Doe, who are all established grinders. And this was the beginning of Mateo's 10K league, which had started on June 27th. He was attempting to do this. You'll see why this 10K becomes important later, but I'll get back to you on the progress for this. July 1st, I tie my PB of 159, as you can see here. And then later that day, on July 1st, I get a new PB of 160 words per minute, my first ever 160. Absolutely crazy. You can see here his progress on his 10K league. He's 4 days in, and he's at 5,700 races. June 2nd as well, I update my 300K leaderboard due to people wanting me to update it, and I told them I'd update it after Billy 33 had surpassed Vile WT in races, so I proceed to do so, although you'll soon see why I regret that, because these take hours to update. July 4th, Hello I'm Not Good gets a new Nitrotype world record of 261 words per minute in a Friends with Garbo, Day, and me, as you can see here. At the same time, Mateo finishes his world record league and gets a 9,999 race league. He was going to do his 10,000th race, but he kind of mistimed it, and the next race went into the next league with me and Dylan, so that didn't really pan out very well. July 5th, I get a 148 here, but more importantly, I'm friend racing with Crazy Typer and Stephen P, who I start interacting with more on stream. I became a big part of my summer grind was talking to Steven on live stream. July 9th, I do a 1K session on my live stream just to test out, or a 12-hour blitz on live just to see how laggy it would be to stream. You'll see why this is important later. July 12th, I get Bug Smasher and Spell Checker at the exact same time. VL told Adrian to give me the titles because of bugs I'd reported and the typo I'd reported a week before then. And I was the first person to get Spell Checker since Parsifal got it in May of 2024. It was believed to be unobtainable as support had denied access to anyone requesting for Spell Checker for the past year, but they made an exception for me and I was able to get the title. July 15th, I start making a ban sheet to send to the admins for people that I suspect of botting. July 16th, with the help of Daymare, I'm able to get my original account back from support. The one I lost over six years ago, Terra 4. Just absolutely crazy. I never thought I'd be able to get this account back. I made this account in 2017 and raced on it until it was stolen in 2019. You'll probably see that in another video I'm gonna make soon. Also on July 16th, me and Mizu discovered this account, which is only in Champion League, made this year. And because it's only in Champion League, that means it's only been racing for about 8 weeks. Which means it did all those racing in 8 weeks. So it was doing 8K, it was botting 8K a week. But I believe this account got banned soon after. July 17th, Daymare shows me an extremely crazy exploit where he hacked an account that had just raced. It was like a 150k account, just out of the blue, that was botting. This dangerous security exploit he reported to the admins at some point, and he was able to get the title I Dig Bugs, which is a title no one had ever gotten in over, I want to say, almost 10 years. But because it was such a critical bug, he was able to get the title. Also on July 17th, VL reveals the new event car made by Parzival over a month in advance before the next event to me, so I could show Dylan as well at a later point in time. Tie my average PB, I get a 143 average. See here, more stats for that. You can see here I was in 4th for the month of July. This far into July, there was not a lot of competition, and then there's also a botter on Dylan's team. Top 2 ahead of me were botting, so really I was 2nd place for that month at the time. Dylan didn't know they were botting at the time though. It was on July 21st. Billy33 gets banned, and because he was on my 300k leaderboard, this means I now have to update it again, which I said takes hours, which means I regret having to updating it on July 2nd. Because now I have to do it again, not even 3 weeks later. It really sucked. You can see here, I sandbag a bit into the 119 zone in order to get as many first place positions as possible to get 50,000 wins, which I was able to get. I believe I got a win streak of like 40 before, I think it was 40 or 50 to get to there. I believe it was no quit as well. At this time, Internet Typer was developing a spreadsheet with every account over 110,000 races, and I wanted to start screenshotting me passing people on that list, as well as people on my friends list. I also make a video series of me passing people on my friend list where I talk about the account in question, whether it was banned or not, but I would just make videos on that. July 22nd, Dylan comes to my house exactly a month after our first meetup, and we both do a 1K session sitting next to each other. So you can see here, it was in a live stream. I'll have it linked down below in the description if you're interested. July 23rd, I get a 159 work per minute, which is pretty impressive. And then I also update my 300k leaderboard because Billy33 was banned, like I said. I did that in a live stream. July 25th, I finally hit top 100 racers of all time on Internet Typer's finalized spreadsheet, which I had fully finished and developed at this point. And I also get a new average PB of 144, and this was no quit. August 1st, I start tier testing people myself. So you can see here, I tier tested Alex. August 8th, Internet Typer turns a spreadsheet into a website leaderboard of its own, where he displays the top 1,000 racers. As much as he could gather, it wasn't completely accurate, but it was the best collection known at the time. And I helped him out with features on there as well. You can see here. This is what it looks like nowadays. August 10th, Volatile gets 250,000 races, and you can see here I'm in the race, as well as Desi, Dylan, and Daymare. August 13th, I get a new PB of 163 words per minute. August 14th, because Mercy had requested the achievement for Record Keeper because they just sent him the title, so I decided to do the same, and I asked support to send me the Bug Smasher achievement because I already had the title, but I never got the achievement, so here is the achievement that they sent me. Also at this time, Daymare gives me access to a custom script which displays different stats for all the racers in a race. It was a WebSocket that he was developing and testing, and he gave me early access to testing it. August 15th, I finally reached 150,000 races on Nitrotype, See all the people in that race. August 16th was the first time I was able to get Damer's script to actually work in a race properly. There was a lot of bugs, a lot of testing involved with that. August 17th, the new event, back to school event, was starting, and I tell Starlight to add an event tab into Star Trek, which also led to the season leaderboards, which revolutionized the current competitive scene of Nitrotype at the moment. The back to school event started. You can see with the old cars that were on here. And then you can see here, Nitrotype implements a new caret and font design similar to Type Racer, but because of how the font or the caret moved, it actually made words per minute slower, and they quickly removed it 20 minutes later. And then also, you can see here there's a bug with one of the scripts. I believe it's Tunity's Nitrotype stats script, where season levels do not work with event XP, and it just keeps on going forever. It lags your game really bad if you have this part open. August 18th, Volatile gets the Wildflower after getting 250k races. A week before, Daymare had asked Adrian to give her the car, and this completely revolutionized how people grinded, because this was proof that admins will give King of the Race to trusted racers. And you can see here, this became a big motivator for me, as you'll see here in a bit. August 24th, I get a new top speed of 167 words per minute in a Friends Race stream with Stephen P, as you can see here. And SSH also gets to 10 million races, becoming the first ever legit team to hit 10 million races. August 28th, I finished one of my projects, my PowerPoint project, which was a idea to collect screenshots of every single 250k that ever existed on Nitrotype and put them in a single PowerPoint. You can see here, I finally finished it after Augment and Sigwa and a bunch of other people helped me with researching and finding screenshots from the old NT community server that was owned by Mercy. There was a lot of inaccuracies at first, but I slowly patched out all the misinformation in there over the course of the next few months. You can see here August 30th, Damer updates his script so it has a much better UI. And then I also end this day with 154,700 races, and this is when I decide to grind to 250,000 races. The plan was to get 250k by August 31st of 2026. That was the original plan, but I wanted to start it off early by doing a lot of racing in September, like a ludicrous amount of racing. So, and I just wanted to do this because Volatile got the Wildflower, which set a precedent, meaning if you are a legit racer, you can get King of the Race car, or at least the Wildflower, from the admins as long as Damer is still around. And that's what inspired me. I wanted to get the car. August 31st, the very first day of my grind. You can also see I keep on screenshotting people from Internet Typer's leaderboard during this process as well for catalog purposes. And at this time, I was still trying to make videos while grinding 600 a day, but I quickly stopped doing it a week in because I wanted to compete with Dylan in the monthly stats. September 1st, you can see how many races I had done for the month of September according to NT stats. And you can see last 24 hours I did 863 races. Keep in mind August 31st counted as September because it starts at 10 the month. So all of those races were for September on monthly stats at least. September 3rd, I raced the Wampus 3 times in a row, which I've done before, and then immediately afterwards I become the first person to claim or get the Heat Line car, which is funny because I was also the first person to see what the car looks like outside of Mercy, Parzival, and VL, and the admins obviously. And then I also become the first person to race with the car shortly afterwards. And then later that day, Slim Jim Pingu gets 100,000 races, becoming, I believe, the first legit player to ever get 100,000 without any of the King of the Race cars. And by any I mean anything past the perk. September 6th, I get 160,000 races. September 8th, I do another stats update. You can see I was at 7,000 races, 9 days into my grind. September 9th, a player named Shimura, gets dared by Mighty to get to 100,000 races before the end of the year. And at this point, I start debating whether I should get 250k. before the year ends, which sounds absolutely absurd. But if I was already doing over 20K in September, that was a real possibility. I just wanted to see where I go from there. So I thought about it, and maybe I would race him too, who would get to their goal first. He was around 12K races in, and I was 162K in, so we're about even to our goals. So yeah, Shamar becomes another grinder alongside me and Dylan this month. September 10th, I decide to do a 2K session or 24-hour blitz. You can see here I get to 2123, and ultimately I get to a new PB for 24 hours, 2175 races in an hour. It says 2186, but that's glitched. It is 2175. That's my current PB for most races in 24 hours. September 12th, I win another Legend tournament, and I get an insane 7,786 races in a single league, earning 9.7 million XP, which is by far the most races I've done in a week, and the most races I've done in a league, over 7K. And it was definitely because of that last 2K races I did on the 10th, and then I'd also done 1K most other days during that week as well. Here later on, I get in the same league as Dylan. Me and him did a friend race, and we're the only two in the next league, which is pretty rare to see because Legend League fills up very quickly. September 13th, I get 166,666 races. September 16th, I get 170K. September 18th, I see what my league stats are. 5,000 races into the league, and I'm also showing my battle between me and Dylan. Like I said, we're back and forth the whole time when it comes to races for the month. That was the main objective, who would get the most races in that month. September 19th, Dylan J becomes a second person in Nitrotype, fourth ever, if you include band racers, to get 500,000 races. That is 500,000 races. Absolutely crazy achievement. I was able to get Wildflower. Well, Pinky One was able to get Wildflower, and Daymare and me were also able to join the race. You can see here, we did on my track due to an emergency, but and a truly incredible achievement. Dylan J marked him as the most notable grinder of the modern day, no doubt. September 20th, a car in the shop that I'd never had shows up, and I believe this is the last car that shows up in the shop that I didn't own, other than new cars, obviously. Up until I'm making this video right now on May 13th or whatever. September 24th, Dylan gets the Wild 500, the car that you get from getting 500,000 races. He also gets this from Daymare, which also proves that more than one player can get King of the Race if they know the right people, which just enforces the fact that I should go for Wildflower. September 27th, I get to 175K races, and I also get to 20,000 races in a month for the very first time. I also get my very first 160 in over a month, which is crazy because I was in the 119 zone, and the 160 just came out of nowhere, which actually glitched my stats. So my average was 160. It was really funny to update my Discord roles, showing I was a 160 typist. So that was a little bit of fun there. September 28th, I do a 1600 race session. September 30th, I do a 1200 race session. And this was my final total for September. I lost the race battle against Dylan, as you can see there. This was Dylan's absolute peak, his prime, I would say, in terms of grinding. This is the most he's ever done in a month. October 1st, I get 180,000 races. October 2nd, 1250 race session. October 3rd, I get another 7K league, 7,174 races in this Legend League, as you can see there. So that becomes my second best ever league. October 6th, an old gen player named Randor finally, he comes back to the competitive Nitrotype scene, with his team OSBL, which joined Star Trek. You'll see why Randor becomes important later. October 10th, I get another tournament win, 5,552 races in that league, as you can see here. October 11th, I get the second most races on Team Talk, surpassing I Like French Fries and Team Races. October 12th, Survivor gets 75K races. October 14th, I surpassed sub to Nitrotypist in races, but more importantly, I do a 1038 race session. October 15th, I accidentally get into Malachi's 340k race. October 16th, I do a 1200 race session. October 25th, I get to 199,000 races. I also proceed to join the newly established Star Trek Discord server, and I instantly get staff role, support staff, which means I help Starlight find botters on Star Trek, also help with server maintenance as well as leaderboard maintenance, and also administrator duties on the Discord server. But the main thing is looking at stats and determining with a team of other people, as well as Starlight, whether someone is botting or not, and deserves to be flagged. October 26th, you can see here, I start getting closer to 200k. I get 21,000 races in October monthly stats. And you can see here, I get to 200,000 races. You can see all the people in there matching cars with me, which is really cool. October 27th, I don't do any racing. I take a whole day break from grinding. Vamos helps me make the 300k leaderboard look really pretty. Much more like an actual leaderboard, you can see here. And I also fully update the leaderboard as well. Internet Typer updates his leaderboard, and I placed in 40th. As you can see here, I waited a whole day for him to update it. I refused to race until he did so. And then also Stephen P surpasses Kocho for the third most active player in Nitrotype. October 28th, I begin my my grind up again. I believe I did a 1k here. October 30th, I show what my grind looks like so far from when I started August 31st to now October 30th. Shimura also decides to join Talk, and we decide, because there's a new seasons are finally coming back, season 57. It's gonna start on November 2nd. So me and Shimura decide to team up, and he joins Talk, and we try and win the season against OSBL, which is Randora's team. Just the two of us, because we were the top two grinders at the time alongside Dylan. That was the plan, and you'll see how that turns out. October 31st, you can see what my league looks like so far. 5,880 races into the league right before it changes over. And then also, I got to 25,103 races in monthly stats. Still below Dylan's PB, but let's see if November can turn it around for me. November 2nd, you can see here the season starts as I get one of the cars from the season. November 3rd, I decide to interview a Nitrotype admin. And as a result of that, we decided to, he let us race against him with some really cool rare cars that are like super illegal. Like here he races with the Wampus. This one he races with the Wild 750, the Wild 500. Only time there ever was two Wild 500s in a single race outside of maybe 2024 and 2023, because there was botters at the time that owned the car. And then he raced with the gold car and the corn dog car, as well as the NT gold block car, which was completely, no one had used this car in over half a decade, to be honest. The interview with the admin, Asher Armstrong, who had retired about 2 weeks before this, video will be linked in the description below. November 3rd, I get to level 67, but the thing is there was a glitch where infinite levels were not counted separately, so this was just 67 levels, including the first starter 33, and then you go to November 5th, and they actually fix it, so I get level 67 again, but this one is infinite level 67. So they actually fixed that bug, luckily. November 6th, I did 1,500 races that day. I believe I did 2 separate sessions. November 7th, I become the second ever person to get to 100 million XP. Obviously, the first person was Dylan J. And you can see here, it took me 83,460 races to get to that point. November 12th, people were starting to harass me on Discord and started using my own public information on Nitrotype in order to demotivate me from racing. You can see that problem will slowly get worse over time. And then also at this time, Super Jolzy finishes his top racer badges script and unveils it, which uses Star Trek leaderboards to bring back the top badges. You can see here I'm a top 3 racer in the last 7 days. November 13th, you can see here I show Shimura and Dylan as the number 1 and number 2 at that time. I also had a lot of work in the first 2 weeks of November, which means Shamora was beating me throughout the first half of the month. I was only able to do like, I would say 800 a day. So some days I would have like 12-hour shifts, and then other days I could just do like 1,000 races or 1,500 races, like you saw that the other screenshot earlier. November 19th, I get to 200,000 team races on Team Talk. I also take the top spot on the season leaderboards, as I had much less work that week and was able to catch up to Shamora, who was falling behind. And then I also get to level 400. November 20th, well, here's what happened. Basically, I thought I was only going to do like a 1,200 session and then go get my hair cut and do a bunch of other errands, but those were canceled. So in the middle of the day, I just had 1,200 races, and Dylan had already done a 3K that month, and so I wanted to try and just do a 3K, but I was not prepared. I only got to 2,300 races in, so that was a little bit of a disaster there. Me trying to do that, like all of November 19th was me doing this session, and then I just failed the 3K. I was just fried. I just couldn't do it. But I also got the 221,000 races here, as you can see. November 21st, I do a 1,416 race session, although I'm pretty sure it ended farther than that. And this is when I was preparing to do a 10K league and a 5K session. You'll see how those progress. But this is like me preparing for that by doing 1,400 races a day, every day, pretty much. November 23rd, you could see here, Randora starts becoming more and more competitive. He's in our league with me and Dylan, and he's now a top 3 racer on Nitrotype. And for that week, kicking Shamora out of the top 3, as he wants OSPL to win the season and him to try and get to number 4, I believe. I'm also catching up to Dylan J's race logs. This is where I was at, and this is where Dylan was at. I was only 600 behind, and Dylan had been doing 20K for 3-4 months now at this point. November 24th, Talk, with only me and Shamora and one other racer grinding, is able to get 3rd place in the season leaderboards. November 5th, I get 225,000 races. Talk enters the top 2, and I do a 1,300 session. November 26th, I get to 3 million points, and I also break my season point record, which I had gotten back in season 53, which was over almost 4 times longer than this season, or up to this point. So I just completely obliterated any other time of my competitive Nitrotype career. And then I also passed Comet the Duck in team races, as you can see here. He's the most recent person I passed in team races, which means I have the 8th most team races on Nitrotype currently. And as of back then. And then also at this time, I get to level 607, which beats my record from season 55. So basically, here's how it works. Season 53, I'd gotten to level 606, and then season 55 got to level 607 because I did Nitromath and Nitrotype, so all that XP made it so it was able to beat that. And then in this season alone, only 24 days into the season, I am able to get to a new level record right after I get my point record. Also, at this time, Shamora is flagged for botting, which I get the flag for because he literally just left Talk after the decision was made to flag him based off new tech that we had developed in race data, which showed that he was 100% using an auto typer, and he'd been using it for an extended period of time, which means all of his races that he had done for the past 2.5 months were completely flagged as botting. This also means Talk was no longer in contention to win the season because Shamora had been flagged, so we basically dropped to like 11th place. November 27th, I do a 1,720 race session. November 28th, I do a 1,543 race session. I believe my 10K league had started up, was beginning to start up at this point, but I had already began racing, like I had already started it. November 28th, I also get 75k in race logs. And then I also get my third 7k league with Randora here, and Dylan J's in here as well. This also becomes my second best ever league, as you know. And then me, Randora, and Dylan perfectly time it, so we all end up in the same Legend League, as you can see here. Literally, perfect friend race to time it. And then I also get to level 700 on this day as well. November 29th, I do a 1756 race session. This is also my 90th day of grinding, which I done 76,000 races up to this point, because that August 31st to obviously November 29th is 90 days. And then I also get to level 750. November 30th, Randora suspiciously does a 4K session over the course of 67 hours, but there was a lot of inconsistencies with that, so just keep that in mind for later. This is my final season level, and this is my final season race, where I confidently win Season 57. It wasn't even close, as you can see here. Obviously audio was flagged, but even with that, he was over 900,000 points behind me. So it was a very dominant season win of almost 1,000 races every single day. You can see here we're all matching in our league and in the season leaderboard. Randora obviously did his big session, so that's why he's matching me in the league there. The new season begins 4 hours later, and Corndog, actually, this is my first time I ever raced Corndog in a race, just like randomly, so I'm going in that speed zone. I also finally hit to 10,000 races in 7 days, and this was only like, my 10k league ended on December 5th, so this is November 30th, so I held 10k, well, you'll see, but this is the first time I got to 10k in 7 days. Also beat Mateo's weekly record in the process. In terms of races, not points, that's for sure. I finished the season loot, get to infinite level 1. And this time, me and Cam decided to make a server for every top 10 player in a season. So, we call it the NT Top Racer server, both of us run it. Cam's the one that created it. Cam, if you don't know, is an old gen racer that came back in order to make a new super team to go competitive. He also brought another bunch of other old gens back. He's a really cool guy. He made this team called KU, and KU decided that they were going to dominate Season 58, which was X-Max 2025. But yeah, we made this server just for the grinders that get to top 10 in that season. We made it on November 30th, you can see here. I forgot what the original logo looked like, but it wasn't that. And then you can also see my final tally for November was 28,454 races in monthly stats. December 1st, I do 1,607 races. December 2nd, the doxing had gotten really bad. Jazz, Faye, and IBD was the one that leaked the information, and Jazz and Faye were the ones that spread it. They had raided the Star Trek server many times, posting my address and multiple other sensitive documents, and also harassed my family and placed things to my house. It was a very stressful day for me, so I only did 800 races that day because I went to sleep like twice. But yeah, you can see the doxing situation ended, came to a, yeah, fully reached its climax at that point. December 3rd, I got 100 levels. You got to level 100. Also, I got a this is my peak I ever reached in a week was 10,264 races, the highest I ever got to. And I also did a 1,526 session, and I get to 7k into my league, and this is only 5 days into my league, so I had already gotten to 7k at this point. Number 4th, Faye, under the strain of legal pressure that I had put up on him, decides to reveal that Stephen P was behind most of the information leak, and decides to resign from the NT community due to the allegations and all the stuff that was happening with the drama with me. I also proceed to break my league record in races, and then I also get to 8k, so you can see here, and I also get to 30,000 races in 30 days, An amazing feat that many people have tried and failed to get to, but I was able to do it. This is classroom stats in case you're wondering. This is also day 4 into the season. You can see Matteo trying to keep up with his insane points per race, but I'm very confidently ahead of him by this point, only 4 days into the season. You can also see here is my stats. Here, I had already at this point done 20K in 16 days, which is absolutely absurd. December 5th, I become the first ever legit solo racer to get to 80,000 races, officially confirmed. So in a 90-day span, I had done 80,000 races. This also was the official 5th day of the season. I was already almost at 1,000,000 points. Absolutely crazy stuff. I had proceeded to also break this is the highest I got to in race logs, which also happens to be the world record of 80,632. And then I get to 10,000 races in a league, beating the league world record that Matteo had set all the way back in the summertime by getting to 10,000. Obviously not in XP, but in races it is the record. I then end the day off with a 1911 race session and end my league record at 10,150 races. As you can see here, playtime was crazy. But yes, yeah, that's how it ended. December 16th, I do another 1K, which officially marks the end of my 1K streak on NT Daily Stats, which I did 13 days in a row of over 1K. Most of them are like way over 1K, like 1,300 plus, as you can see there. December 8th, I start my 5K race session, starting off. And this was in response to Dylan getting a 4K in August, beating my previous session record by 30 races, because I got 4,070, and then in August he got 4,100 race session. So I wanted to, me and him and Onion and Matteo had planned to all do 5Ks, and I just began mine. I get here 100,000 wins, and I get to level 300, as you can see here. December 9th, this is the first 24 hours of my 5K. You can see here I have very, very efficient pacing, relatively speaking, taking minimal breaks, as you can see there. And then I get a 2K in NT Daily Stats for the very first time. As you remember from my 4K, I only got to 1996, but this time I got to 2000, even though there was a weird glitch where it separated my daily stats into 2 for some reason. Very odd. It did that like 900 races into Daily Stats. Here I am on December 9th as well, at 3,000 races in, and I had done this in, what was it, 35 hours and 6 minutes, I believe. December 10th, 48 hours into my session, this is where my stats are looking like, and then I also proceed to get the 30-day world record, at least it shows in my classroom. Unsure if Malachi was account sharing back in 2020, but if he wasn't, then I'll still surpass it anyways, but I'll show you what the final end result being. But I was able to get to this in the classrooms, but it was likely harder than that. I then proceed to break the race logs world record that I had set only a few days prior. I got to 80,933, which is where the record stands today for a solo legit player. I finally get to a 5,000 race session after I believe, 59 hours and 54 minutes into my session. And then I proceed to end my session off at 5,185 races. Due to me struggling to be able to type, I had to stop because my fingers were not able to keep on typing. This is the last 15 hours of the session, as you can see here. And this is the full session's length in NT Daily Stats. You can also see here, this is what my 30-day record ended up finishing at, 33,772 races, current 30-day world record for a solo player. December 12th, I end the league that I had done my 5K. I almost did a 5th 7K league, but I fell short by just a little bit. Dylan also does a crazy amount of racing in this one, and I think Matteo got the flu halfway through this league, so he wasn't able to do as many racing. December 13th, Dylan J does his 5K immediately after, 12 hours after I finished mine, and is able to catch up to me in the weekly leaderboard, as you can see here. And in true Dylan fashion, he beats my session by 15 races. He gets to 5,200, and then he decides to stop after 65 hours of racing. You can see here Randora renames his team to NTA in order to win another season back-to-back. December 14th, you can see here another script introduced by Loveridge and Julesy, which shows whether a person is flagged on Star Trek or an NTL or not flagged or unflagged or like not tracked on there. And then also I start regaining my speed a little bit now that I'm only doing like 600 a day as I close in on my goal of 250,000 races. Also, I get my first 160 words per minute in over 3 months. Here I show off the last 30 days of my grind up to this point. I believe this is over 32k. And I get to 249,000 races on December 14th, I believe. December 15th, I get to 230,000 team races. December 16th, I stop right before getting to 250k, and this is the final day of my grind, which I had done 50k in the last 49 days up to this point. December 17th, I get 250,000 races. I get Volatile Dylan, It's Pickles, and Wildflower in my race after some meticulous planning. You can see here my stats. Here's what my final tally ended up being for every single week of my grind. You can see here, I'll give you a moment to see it. Also on December 17th, Randora gets flagged as we were able to detect that someone was botting on his account during his 4K session at the end of November. He eventually admits to it and is promptly flagged for mass account sharing and botted races. December 18th, Damer is able to get me the Wildflower a mere 13 hours after I got 250k, so you can see here, and I claim the Wildflower for myself, and I proceed to do a race with the car. December 20th, I decided to race on my alt, on mechanical keyboard because my normal keyboard was so cooked, all having tape all over it, that I couldn't type fast on it at all, and I'm able to race select a 141 average and get pretty close to a mechanical PB. I get 148, which is one below my top. December 25th, I replaced my keyboard for the second time. It's 125. My laptop, you can see here, both leaderboards, both keyboards survived about 125k races. Pretty crazy. December 26th, Mateo gets 200,000 races and also completes his 10k league, or he breaks my league record immediately after I did mine with an insane 11,111 race league. And for the first time in Nitrotype history, the top 5 in the season are all over 200,000 races. January 2nd, I update my 300k leaderboard again. January 3rd, Mateo finally passes my points from Season 57, although it takes him over a week and a half longer than it did me. January 7th, Craze, after waiting almost 3 weeks, finally received the Wildflower, and we do the first ever quintuple Wildflower race since 2024, since the ban wave. You can see here. January 18th, Onion gets 250,000 races mere minutes before Season 58 ends, and I was in that race. Season 59 begins, Onion begins blitzing it to finish the loop first, and in a call with me and VL, he gets the Wildflower after VL asked Adrian, and then Adrian gets back to him 10 minutes later. So Onion got the Wildflower, which was very contentious at the time because Onion had account shared races on his account and had been sold before, which breaks TOS, but nonetheless, no botted races were on the account and he got the car. January 28th, I race select an average of 153 on my new keyboard laptop, and then I proceed to never race on that laptop again as I get a new, more expensive laptop and begin practicing on that. January 29th, I get my first 100 on the new laptop, and then I get my first 110/120, and then my first 130 on the new laptop. And then I ended off with my first 140/150 on the new laptop. January 30th, Randora gets unflagged from Star Trek using a new flagging system called a strike. So basically everything before a certain time period is stamped as flagged or botted races, and then anything after that is their clean slate. Their clean slate in this case was Randora past January 18th, as there was 0 signs of any botted races on the account past January 18th. and which means Randor is now a solo racer who's legit. February 6th, I become the second ever person to get to 150 million XP, obviously after Dylan. February 8th, I begin talking to Mercy and a few wiki admins about some Nitro notability changes that me and a few others in the community, such as Love Rage and Craze, were asking about in order to make getting notability and /wiki pages easier for new gen players to achieve. So I began talking to Dave and Mercy about possible changes to the Nitro notability index on the wiki. February 9th, Love Rage makes a script which is able to show league wins. You can see here I have 15. NT leaderboard updates again, as you can see here, also on February 9th. And removed a lot of other leaderboards as well, made it more simplified. You can see here I'm down to 29 leaderboards placed. Also, I decided to make my own leaderboard due to Nitrotype never updating his leaderboard again since October. I decided to take his information and make my own leaderboard, every racer over 100k. And my first update was on February 9th. You can see here I DM people about it, or this is me unveiling the leaderboard. February 10th, I get a 164 on Longbones, which is my Longbones PB. February 21st, I make a similar leaderboard, but for racers with the most team races. You can see here all over 130k team races. February 27th, I get a new top speed of 168 words per minute in a race against Typing with Isaac. It's also around this time that I begin helping Love Rage test out new user scripts. In this case, I was helping him with a built-in music player that can bring in YouTube Music and Spotify into Nitrotype's music player system. February 28th, Dylan J becomes the second person in Nitrotype history to get 600,000 races, you can see here. March 1st, Season 59 begins. I grind to become the third person to finish the season loot, breaking my 6-hour blitz record by getting 595 races in 6 hours. I don't know why it says 7 hours, but this is what the final tally. It took 603 races to finish the whole thing. March 10th, I get a new 100 accuracy PB. March 11th, I get a 155 with only one mistake, almost destroying my 100 accuracy PB, but I was unable to do so. Also on this time, I get a new no quit average on this laptop of 146. March 12th, I update my 100k leaderboard once more. March 14th, similar to March 14th of 2025, I decide to stop racing for a bit of time, although instead of 2 months, you'll see it's only like 6 days. March 20th, I come back to racing because this person named Megalodon and a few others wanted me to tier test people on the Nitrotype tier testing server. Megalodon was the co-captain of Shark, which was the top team that was destined to win season 59 at this point. And he also suggested that I make a Nitrotype speed tournament, which I decide to go through with. Unfortunately, on March 24th, Megalodon gets banned, so he was unable to participate in the tournament. Although, March 25th, I proceed to go on with the tournament and get all the participants ready for it, as I decide to post videos of each duel in this tournament. March 28th, while I was tier testing Randora, I was able to get a new best no quit average of 147.7 for 10 races. I also got high tier 2 with a 145 average. You can see here 148, which is rounded from 147.7. Also at this time, the NNI or Nitro notability changes were finalized by Dave, so now new people can be consideration for wiki pages / notability. April 8th, I update my 100k leaderboard again. This time I add display names. April 11th, I become the second ever person and get to level 400 using the new level system in the Nitrotype code. You can see this is also when around the time Love Rage released his mod menu, which has all of his mods in a single script and are toggleable on Nitrotype. One of them was enhanced stats, which is how I'm showing you these stats right here. April 26th. In an effort to collect data for a future video on Lifetime XP, I decided to see where me and Randora's Lifetime XP was at, since I'd been the #2 player for Lifetime XP for over half a year at this point. Randora being the #1 player for the past 4 months up to this point, had finally caught up to me. You can see here, this is Randora's, and this is my own. He's only 1.3 million XP behind me. April 27th, I begin grinding to stay ahead of Randora in lifetime XP until my video comes out on May 3rd, which will mark the very first year anniversary of lifetime XP being released. You can see here, I do 800 races that day. April 28th, I do another 800 races, getting first place in 24 hours, able to gain a bit of ground ahead of Randora. April 29th, Randora significantly catches up to me despite my best efforts. You can see here, he destroys me in the 24-hour leaderboards. April 30th, I get top 3 weekly for the first time since 2025. May 1st, I somehow get 6th place in the season, even though the season had been out for almost 2 weeks up to this point. Shows how the competition has died down a bit, or compared to what it used to be. May 2nd, Randora finally catches up to me on lifetime XP. I put up a good fight, but was unable to hold him back until my video. May 4th was my final time getting 4K in a week. May 9th, I did 750 races in order to get to 250K team races as soon as possible. You can see here, May 10th, I do another 750, although it shows 1022 because of how sessions overlapped, and I was able to get to 250,000 team races on May 10th. And that concludes the video. May 11th, as you know, it marks the 1-year anniversary since I came back to Nitrotype after I took like a 2-month hiatus from the game where I didn't do a single race, and I relearned my whole typing style and all that. And yeah, May 11th right now, I am currently editing this video. So I want to thank you guys so much for watching the whole thing. I don't know how long this video will be. Hopefully, maybe like 40 minutes or so. Maybe an hour, I'm not sure. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching the video.